On the night of November 12, 2018, 32-year-old Michael Carter finished his late shift at a factory in the city of Ashford. It had been a long day, and all he wanted was to get home and sleep. The rain had been falling for hours, and the streets were almost empty. Michael checked his watch. 11:48 p.m. He had already missed the last bus. The only way home was the train. The problem was that the final train to Raven Hill had left 20 minutes earlier, or at least, that's what the schedule said. As Michael stood under the station roof, he suddenly heard something in the distance, a train whistle. Then, headlights appeared through the fog. A dark-colored train slowly entered the station. Michael frowned. He had lived in Ashford his entire life, and he had never seen this train before. The carriages were old and covered in dirt. The windows looked almost black. There was no company logo, no route number. No passengers could be seen inside. The train came to a stop. Then the doors opened. A cold wind rushed out. An old conductor stepped onto the platform. He was wearing a black uniform and an old-fashioned hat. The man looked at Michael and smiled. "Last train to Ravenhill," he said. Michael hesitated. "I thought the last train already left." The conductor smiled again. "This train never runs late." Something about the man's voice felt strange, but Michael was exhausted. He stepped inside. The doors closed behind him. The train began moving. At first, everything seemed normal. Then Michael realized something. He was the only passenger. Every seat was empty. The lights flickered. The train moved deeper into the darkness. Then the conductor appeared beside him. "I wouldn't fall asleep if I were you," he said quietly. Michael looked up. "Why?" The conductor's smile slowly disappeared. "Because some passengers never wake up." Before Michael could ask another question, the lights went out. The entire train became dark. Then he heard something. Footsteps. Someone was walking through the carriage, but he was supposed to be alone. The footsteps grew louder. Step, step, step. Michael's heart began to race. The emergency lights suddenly turned on. A dim red glow filled the carriage. He looked toward the end of the train. A woman was standing there. She wore a gray coat and held a small suitcase. Michael was sure she hadn't been there before. The woman looked directly at him. Then she slowly raised one hand. "Don't trust the conductor," she whispered. The lights flickered again. For 1 second, the woman disappeared. Then she was standing much closer. Michael jumped from his seat. "What is happening?" he shouted. The woman looked frightened. "You shouldn't be here." "What do you mean?" "This train doesn't go to Ravenhill anymore." A loud bang echoed through the carriage. The conductor appeared. His face looked different. Pale, almost gray. The woman stepped backward. "You have to leave," she said. Michael looked around. "How?" The woman pointed toward the next carriage. "Before it's too late." The conductor slowly began walking toward them. "You were never supposed to see her," he said. Michael turned and ran. He pushed through the next door. The carriage was completely empty, but every seat had a small photograph on it. Photographs of people. Men, women, children. On the back of every photograph was a date. Michael froze. Every date was different, but they all had one thing in common. Every person had disappeared without a trace. At the end of the carriage, Michael found one final photograph. His photograph. The picture had been taken only a few days earlier, and beneath it was tomorrow's date. Michael felt his blood run cold. Suddenly the train stopped. The doors opened. Outside was an old station. A broken sign read, Ravenhill. The station looked abandoned. No lights, no people, only fog. The conductor stood behind him. "You have arrived," he said. Michael turned slowly. "What is this place?" The conductor smiled. "The last stop." At that moment, the woman grabbed Michael's arm. "Run." They jumped from the train. The moment Michael's feet touched the ground, the station disappeared. The train disappeared. Everything vanished. He found himself lying beside an old railway track. It was morning. Police officers surrounded him. They looked shocked. One officer helped him stand. "Sir, where have you been?" Michael stared at him. "What do you mean?" "I was gone for one night." The officer looked confused. "You disappeared 3 years ago." Michael couldn't believe it. The police later discovered something terrifying. The last train to Ravenhill had been permanently closed in 1987 after a deadly accident. 32 passengers had died. There had never been another train on that route. To this day, Michael refuses to talk about what happened, but every year, on November 12th, he leaves a single flower beside the old railway tracks, because sometimes, late at night, he still hears a train whistle in the distance, and he knows one thing: the last train to Ravenhill is